I'm totally leading with what we were just talking about. So the draft class this year has been said to be a down draft class. And welcome to the Draft Indy podcast. We're never down. We're always up. And I'm your host, Grant Sinning, and I'm joined by the usual Brian, Garrett, and Jay. And we're going to get started talking about the draft class. So, again, everyone has been saying, I've heard it said it's a down draft class. I've been watching a lot. I've got probably 40 players watched, I think. I don't think so. I think there's a lot of talent in this draft. There's no quarterbacks at the top, which could make someone say it's a bad draft class. But I don't know. There's a lot of D-line talent. I think there's a couple really good pass rushers. There's some really good defensive backs in the draft. There are some good offensive linemen. It seems like it could be a pretty decent year, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And so, I don't know. Does anyone feel like it could be bad? Anybody?
I think every year it feels to me that people say it's a down year or something.
Yeah.
I think that's partially because draft Twitter is largely dominated by a group of people who follow teams that frequently end up picking in the draft within the top 5 or so. So when there's a lack of obvious future Hall of Famers, they tend to notice, and that determines their experience quite a bit. Less so for us, because we pick, in the latter half of the first round. So we appreciate guys like Preston Smith and etc. more, I think. So it doesn't seem that way to me. I think there are going to be some good players available at 18.
Yeah, it's like every player has a flaw. Like we can't expect that many good players. I think there seems to be the guy at each position when you talk about guys like Tunsil, like Bosa, like Miles Jack, but I think after 8 or 9, the difference. This seems to happen a lot. The value of the pick of the player from 10 and of 35 isn't much different. I think it's one of those classes where all those players some that you see going in a mock the day before the draft at number 12 it end up in the back end of the first round.
Yeah, it was kind of like last year too. It was one of those. Last year's draft class didn't turn out to be too bad. And again, at the beginning of the season, everyone's like, "Oh, it was a bad draft class." There's actually some pretty decent players in the draft, found throughout. I'd say so. But yeah, you're right. After those top 10, it starts to meld together. But we've all got our favorites, I guess. So that was actually one of the things that I wanted to ask you guys. We're I don't know how many months, 3 months, basically essentially 3 months away from their draft, a little bit less than that. Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite prospect you've watched so far? I guess, how about who's your favorite prospect and who would be your favorite prospect for the Colts? Because there's a difference there for me at least. I'll start with James.
Best guy I've watched is probably Bosa, as Brian put it. I think he's probably the best. The problem I think with this draft class is there's not a lot of clear top 10 talents. There's not a lot of guys that you're clearly, after the first couple guys are going to go in order: Tunsil, Bosa, Buckner, Ramsey, those kind of guys. There's a bit of a gap, but I think from 15 to 50, there's a lot of really talented players, and so that's why I don't think of it as a down year draft class, because there's not the super obvious top guys, but there's a lot of good players that are going to be in the middle. There's going to be a lot of teams that are going to get 2 good players if they play their cards right. But yeah, I'd say probably Bosa is the best player I've watched. Bosa, and I've watched a little bit of Ramsey. He's really good, but I'm not doing too much with those 2 guys because they're not getting anywhere near us.
No, I agree. Garrett?
Yeah, I was actually going to say Ramsey, but Jay had to go and crush my dreams there. I think he's probably the meanest and most entertaining defensive player in this
Absolutely.
draft. I love to see that in secondary players, and that's why I think he should be a safety rather than a corner, although he could be great anywhere, and it's not, I guess, a huge problem. In terms of more realistic expectations, Xavier Howard from Baylor, another cornerback, is a guy that I have liked for over a year now, actually, and I've been enjoying watching other people in the draft community grow to appreciate him as well. He's not the angry person that Ramsey is, or that even that Hargreaves is, but he's a very, very solid prospect. And so just because I've been following him for such a long time, I would really like it if we got him. So yeah.
What round are you looking at him at?
If we could get him in the mid-second, I think I would consider that a serious steal, because I do think he can be a above-average starter in the NFL.
He's a long guy, right?
He's not like Sherman length or Norman, but he's I'd say he's probably 6'1", 6'1.5".
Okay. Yeah, I've seen you talk about him before. I need to put him on my list. Brian, where are you at?
I haven't really watched the top guys yet because I'm kind of like trying to like get through the middle. Like I haven't watched Ramsey, Bosa, like Zeke yet, but I still really like Hargraves. I know we've been talking more about Hargraves because his stock is starting to fall. But probably one of my favorite picks, if he were to go 18, would probably be Andrew Billings. I think he's a high round one kind of player, just as a nose tackle, and even as a nose tackle or like a shaded one, he still moves well side to side, along with his north-south speed. So when you're able to do both of that, kind of clog up lanes, he kind of just does everything as a nose tackle that you want, and he even plays some 3-tech, and at that size, that's just incredible. So I really would like Andrew Billings at 18.
And like we were talking about earlier, he's 19. His birthday is March 9th, and he'll be 20, or March 6th or something. Like he'll be 20 by the time the draft is.
Yep.
So he was a 4-star recruit at Baylor at 16. When he started college, at 16, and played in, I think, like 6 games. And then when he was 17, he played in a bunch more games, I think 12 or 11, and then he played the full season this year. So again, the age matters sometimes. Like, when you talk about a player like Leonard Floyd, who's a tweener, he's not adding very much weight. He's 240. He's not filling out his frame.
240?
Yeah, Leonard Floyd's only 240.
How old is he?
I thought he was
24.
less than...
No, he's 24 years old.
Ooh.
I've seen him listed between 220 and 232, or the two main ones I've seen for his weight.
So
240. I mean, he could probably come into the combine like 240, but
yeah,
that's really pushing it. And
yeah, I mean, if he's 220, then that's even worse. Yeah, make these little tweener guys. But anyways, Andrew Billings, being 19 years old, he's got a lot of physical development still left, and that's scary. So, that's the interesting thing there. Again, Amari Cooper, a phenomenal athlete. He was 19 last year, or 20, I think 20 maybe. So I mean, those things do play into people's mind, because with Billings, you get him at 20, he's 25, starting his second contract. He gets a 4-year deal. He's 29, so he gets a rookie contract plus 2 others. So I mean, he's a player.
Two big contracts, yeah.
2 big contracts. Like he could do 2 4-year deals plus his rookie contract, which is most likely 5. So I mean, it's if he plays well enough. Like if he, what I mean. If he's as good as we think he is, he could have quite a bit of contracts, and he would be. I'm gonna kind of steal on this, because he's one of my targets for the Colts at 18. He's one of my favorites to watch, because just thinking about him and Henry doing stunts together just would be incredible. They have some serious athleticism between them, and it would be a lot of fun. And also the 1-2 punch of Billings and Perry would be really nice, because Perry is really good, or he's good for a 5th rounder, and he plays the run very well.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge when you have a good 1-2 rotation. That is what has made so many 3-4 defenses be built so good, is when they have depth. And you talk about a guy like a Perry, you say, okay, maybe he's not even a good starter, he's like an average starter, but when you're getting an average starter only taking a small number of reps, but he's staying fresh for those reps and for those snaps, that's huge.
And then the depth that provides, because Art Jones is coming back most
Art
likely.
Jones, Kendall Langford, Henry Anderson, Zach Kerr, and that's crazy.
Yeah, it is. That would be a crazy good defensive line, and sometimes everyone says, there's always two prevailing thoughts, right? You gotta strengthen your weakest parts, but sometimes if you throw a spear and the tip is sharper, it's more effective, right? I guess that's maybe a bad analogy, but
no, it's cool. I mean, if you had a team in the NFL where you were just completely average across the board, it would be a horrible team. But if you had a team with just a few elite strengths and a few terrible weaknesses, I would wager it would be the better team.
Those are teams that make the playoffs.
Here's a good case. The Jets' defensive line is very, very good. Lots and lots of investment into that defensive line. Paid dividends for them this year because they actually got a quarterback who can throw the ball on target. And not.
Yeah, I remember watching them in the playoffs. That was fun.
Oh yeah, I guess. Okay.
No, I agree with you though. Yeah, that's the popular thing people have been saying a little bit. You won't really need to take defensive line. It's not a need. You've got first year guy's probably not going to start, whether it's a 5-tech or a nose tackle, because you've got Langford, Anderson, and either Jones or Perry, and they're probably not going to be starting. But I have no issue with making your strength an even bigger strength if it's going to make your team better, and there's not many spots that you could do better by increasing a strength than increasing your defensive line.
You don't have to go into every single draft expecting your day one pick to be starting 16 games. That's ridiculous.
That's silly. But like your wide receiver core, making that a bigger strength is not necessarily a great idea. You don't really need a fourth wide receiver. We went through this all last year. But you don't make your team significantly better by getting a great number 3 wide receiver the way that you do by getting a great number 3 defensive lineman.
Yeah, and he would be. I mean, honestly, you plug him in, he's probably starting over Perry, and he's.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's definitely starting over Perry in my opinion. So I mean, that would be a nasty front. And then they can always, I've talked about it before. You always find the pass rushers earlier. Usually, there are exceptions. Mathis being one of them, one of the great exceptions.
From like 2003 or whatever?
2003, yeah. I think it actually was 2003.
Yeah. Well, the game changed.
Yeah, Alabama A&M, I think, was where he came out of. But anyways, you can always try. I mean, there's some interesting later round guys. I'm not gonna try and butcher his name. He's the guy from Maryland. Someone help. Huh? Yannick.
I got his name right here. It's Ngako.
Nagoe.
There's a silent letter in there. Something. I don't know which one it is though.
Anyways,
maybe it's like Nata. Hello to Nata.
He's the giant
Kimdichie
African guy.
Yeah.
From Maryland. He's a good late round kind of guy you can maybe look at for pass rush. Victor Ochi, even though he's only 6'1", apparently his arms are freakishly long, and he has the wingspan of someone who's 6'3", which is okay.
I heard. Yeah, and then who was the? I think his name was Correa from Boise State that just declared a little while ago. I've heard a lot of love about him.
Yeah, I don't know much about him, but like I said, there's always options out there. Like last year, one of my favorites, Davis Toll, went in the 5th round. He was hurt all year, so no evaluation on him in season, but he was a force player. #.
Yeah, there are a couple force players that kind of slip through the cracks every year.
Yeah.
I think there were 2 or 3 that I can think of in the late rounds last year. It's before the combine. We don't have the combine yet, so we can't really predict.
Yes, I know Shaq Riddick was one of them, or he went to the 5th round.
Who's the dude that Hudson really liked from Michigan? His name was Michigan State, I think.
I don't know.
Yeah, he played. He ended up on the 49ers. Oh,
yeah, Mark.
Nope.
There was a guy. Trust us. We're not crazy.
There was a guy.
There. He was real.
Team.
I saw it.
But
I'll get back to you.
But you're right. People fall through the cracks, and it's not always, likely, right? But there's always prospects or whatever. So, it's finding interior rush, will help them, I suppose, in a way, because they'll have to force more people to watch the middle, I would guess. But collapsing the pocket would be very cool, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that D-line is the most important unit in football. The most important position is quarterback, but the most important unit is the defensive front, I think.
No, I can see that. I mean, they set the tone. I mean, if they're not in it, if they're getting pushed around, that's when the big runs can happen. That's when they have more time to pass and all that kind of stuff. Okay, here we go.
Marcus Rush.
Rush.
Okay,
Yes.
I remember him now.
We're in 5th round. He was one of their comp picks. He was 6'2", 247.
Yeah, that's the same round Davis Toll went to the Saints.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So 5th round, and that's actually probably the predicted round of Victor Ochi from Stony Brook, I imagine, and maybe even Yannick. Even though I've heard interesting comps for Yannick to move into inside linebacker and blitz from there, which would be cool. I don't know. I've only watched one game of his, and he's definitely one of the better athletes on the field when he plays for the Terps. But anyways, let's move on. Speaking of defensive line, hey, that's who we got tonight, right? We've got Jonathan Bullard from Florida and Sheldon Rankins from Louisville. Let's start with Rankins after a very hot Senior Bowl week. He's risen up draft boards and all that kind of stuff, but to me, I don't know that anything's really changed. I catch a few Louisville games every year just because they're in the TV market sometimes where I'm at. And he's quick, he's strong, he likes to throw people around. But in my opinion, unless we kind of change our gap integrity schemes from a 2-gap or to a 1-gapper, really, I don't know that Sheldon Rankins is the best fit for the Colts. But I will take comments from our lovely panel, and we'll start with who wants to go first? I know not Brian. Who's watched Rankins?
I'll go.
Okay, go.
I like Rankins. He's dope.
Okay. Talk about him.
That's all I got.
He just did.
No, he's really good. I actually I'm kind of working on liking him more than I probably usually would, because my typical thinking would be in line with you. I'd think he's probably better penetrating and being playing 3-tech or something. He's a little shorter and he doesn't quite have the size that you'd want somebody playing end in a 3-4, playing 5-tech. But I can't keep overlooking these kind of guys, because I did it with Kawan Short. I completely overthought him, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, he's good. Like, every time I watch him, he stands out. He's a good player. He's got good lateral agility. He's strong.
He dominated the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, just dominated the Senior Bowl. But I'm like, yeah, but he's probably not a 5-tech, and we play 3-4, so I don't know. Maybe if he's there in the 2nd round or something, I guess it's okay pick. And then of course we ended up passing on him for someone named Bjorn Werner. But he's really good, and I'm not going to overlook him because he doesn't quite fit the scheme. And I think he actually can 2-gap. I think he's I was watching him and trying to look for times that he stood out playing 2 gaps, and I think he's really good. I think he's going to do just fine there, and I think he's going to be stellar as a interior penetrator. So if he's there at 18, I got no issue at all taking him. I'd be really excited about that one. He's not my highest defensive lineman that I'm on. I like Billings a little better, Buckner, guys like that. But I really, really like that pick. And yeah, people, shout out to Josh Norris and Justice. They all made the Kawan Short pick before I did. But yeah, that's a good comparison, and I'm trying not to overthink it and not appreciate what a good player he is, because he might not fit the scheme that they actually really only run like half of the time anyway.
No, I agree. No, I mean there is that consideration that they are actually probably playing a four-man front more than 50%. It's probably closer to 60%.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess you're right in a way. I mean the amount of disruption that he does is pretty significant. And there are times when he's double teamed that he does actually he does pretty well. He's a strong guy. He's a quick guy. I don't know. I like him a lot. I don't know about 18 for me, but I get where you're coming from. Garrett, did you watch?
I'm not as high on him as I know that Charles Charles thinks that he's his number one defensive tackle. I'm not quite that high, but I've watched enough games. I'd give him a mid-round, mid-first grade, and so that's if he's there at 18, that's perfect. And I think he's going to be a player that is going to get sacks from the interior, which the Colts don't have at all.
Henry had 4.
Yeah, he had a few, but he wasn't. He was struggling with his pass rush for a lot of the year.
He was.
We really like him. He wasn't great on the interior penetrating.
No, he was very good at run stopping though.
Yeah.
Garrett, what do you got?
I very much agree with Jay. I think that Rankins could. I'm not really concerned with scheme with a guy like Rankins. I think he's just a great penetrator. Well, not just a great penetrator, but if you draft a guy like that, it's easy to find a way for him to succeed. I'm not concerned with really any fits. I think that I don't think the two gapping is really an issue with him because I was actually surprised and impressed with how he can shed blocks and despite not having great length, he's incredibly strong, which is helpful, and his hands are like amazing. He's extremely violent with his hands.
Yes.
And that's where I think that as much as his lower body power is why he's able to just fling these 300-pound offensive linemen across the field. And it's very fun to watch. I don't know. I haven't watched Buckner yet. And right now I'm kind of juggling Billings and Rankins as to my top guys. But, yeah, I would totally be fine with him at 18. I don't have a problem with that at all. I think that he would be great next to Henry. I think he would get us some interior pass rush. I'm not entirely. I would still prefer an edge rusher over all this, but again, just pimping that defensive line, you can't really go wrong with that. I don't think.
No, I agree. And when you get to watch Buckner, I'm a fan. I don't know if I was a fan last year, and I was really I don't think he could declare, but when I was watching Eric Armstead, I ended up watching Buckner more than Armstead.
Yeah, he was eligible last year.
He was? Okay,
yeah.
I couldn't remember if he was.
Yeah, he's a senior.
Oh, he is? Okay. But anyways, he's very good. When you get a chance to watch him, he won't be there at 18 unless something awful happens to him at the combine.
Weed is legal in Oregon, by the way. Of course, if you needed to know, marijuana is legal there, so you just take a hit or two.
He won't. They're gonna drug test everybody.
Jay sells marijuana.
Yeah. I was just looking at a mock draft aggregator that I know where to go and look at. Rob Rang from CBS Sports mocked Rankins to the Colts at 18, so there's that. So that would make you guys happy, I suppose.
But anyway, because McShay mocked Taylor Decker to the Colts again today.
Again,
every sorted, man. All of them. 3/4 of your mocks that you're gonna see are gonna be okay. Colts. Man, Andrew Luck got hurt. Got to protect him. So who's the best tackle? Take him.
Honestly, if I saw one of them mock like Whitehair or Kelly in the first round, I'm not gonna be as upset as as the Conklin, Taylor Decker, Jason Spriggs.
You got to protect your franchise quarterback.
But you got to.
You got
Absolutely. You have to. There's no other option.
It's a necessity.
It's not my fault, though, because I kept making the joke that, oh, God, Andrew Luck's going to die if we don't get a good offensive line, and he literally almost died.
Yeah.
But,
I'm sorry, guys.
I don't even get into that topic right
He'll
now.
be fine.
He's fine.
He doesn't have a lacerated kidney.
You got to hit it every week.
He doesn't even drink.
Just a reminder.
Say what?
We just got to hit this section of the pod every week to let people know. Yeah,
I suppose. We just got to do it. It's like, hey, pay attention and understand that the offensive line was not the reason Andrew Luck got hurt. I'm pretty sure his actual injury happened while he was chasing down an interception.
Yeah, he lit up.
Yeah,
that was so bad.
Yeah. So, anyways, there's always that, but everyone's always gonna be like, we'll come back with he wouldn't have thrown the interception without the pressure. And it's like, well, actually,
I thought it happened when he was. I thought he was running. Wasn't he?
I think he was running.
Not that's when he tore his or lacerated some things, right?
It was the kidney, spleen.
That was the worst hit I think I've seen him take.
The original injury probably happened at the end of the Buffalo game. I think he threw 2 picks. It was the second one, the last one, whatever it was, like late in the fourth. And it got returned a long way, and he's sprinting for the sideline to try to get the guy out of bounds, and some offensive or defensive lineman was just waiting for him. And, like, I mean, his feet were up over his head. It was bad. And that's probably when he got hurt.
Hasselbeck got hurt on a run.
Hasselbeck got mad on a run.
Hasselbeck got hurt doing everything.
You know what I want to see? I want to see Hasselbeck.
I stopped watching Colts games, and I still got updates saying Hasselbeck was leaving the game, and he returned. It was consistently every week.
I
was watching Panthers games, and Colts fans were all just like, "Oh, let's all watch this 42-year-old get killed."
Hey, I watched every game. Panthers games are probably more fun, but anyways,
yeah, they were pretty fun.
What I was about to say is, I would love to watch Peyton Manning race Matt Hasselbeck. I think that would be hilarious and very sad at the same time to see who could dash the field. I don't know who'd win. I think it'd be a slow race, but it would be fun to watch.
I think it would just remind everyone of their mortality or something.
Yeah. Hey, these guys are both 40. Anyways, well, I guess Peyton's still 39. Anyways, let's move on to Bullard. Jonathan Bullard out of Florida. He played. He's actually he lined up quite a bit at defensive end and at tackle. A lot of 3-tech, because they play a 4-3, I suppose. But anyways, he's 6'3", 280. Yeah, 6'3", 280.
Mm-hmm.
He appears to be very quick off the line now. Okay, that's what. All right, that's what I wanted to say because I knew that was happening. So go ahead. What are your thoughts on the quickness off the line?
Well, the first time I saw him do it, I mean, every time you see someone just end up in the backfield, like pretty much before the ball hits the quarterback's hands, you think, oh my God, he must be a fast twitch athlete because you just see this little blur. Because all these guys are fast to a certain extent. So when they get there, you see the result. Your brain kind of fills in the blank of what you missed, and you think, okay, this guy's just an elite athlete. That's how he was able to get there so quickly. But then when you go back and you slow it down, you see, oh, he just jumped the snap, and then you watch another play like that, and you jump the snap again. And it's good that you can do that because that's how you can make plays. But it's not something that really translates as well as real explosive athleticism does to the NFL.
Okay, okay, so I knew that was coming, and so I actually you gave me that comment. One of you, either you or Jay, gave me that comment before. I was
watching today, so I think it was Jay then.
It must have been Jay. So when I sat down to watch him, I had that preconceived notion in my head, so I'm watching it, and I think there's a little truth to it, a little bit of truth, because there were some times when you would see the cadence or whatever change a little bit, and he would be ready to jump. But that's a typical thing you see a lot. But I started noticing it more than once, right? I don't know. It's interesting. I don't really know how. I don't know. I have to watch probably all of the tape that I possibly can before I could say either way. But either way, I think he's got some explosion to him. But I don't think he's got any power to him. Once he's engaged, for the most part, he's pretty much taken out of the play, in my opinion. His hands, he's got a good swim move. I hope everyone saw the swim move when they watched him.
Very good.
His swim move's pretty good, but that's really it for his hands. I wrote down my note on my sticky note over here. No hands. I don't see it. I see a swim move, but other than that, like once he's engaged, he's not doing any fun fighting. He's not. I don't know, but I don't see anything other than the quickness off the line that makes me really like him, I guess.
I was actually kind of confused why we were watching him for this, because I went from Rankins to him, and I'm like, what? He's like the third most interesting guy on this Florida defense, maybe.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I agree.
I mean, he's got the burst. I think he's really the swim move's good, like he can gap shoot, and when he gets his inside shoulder through on an interior offensive lineman, like he wins. I think he sets the edge well, but like he gets bullied a lot, and like okay, yeah, he's more of like a finesse interior rusher, so to expect him to equal that facet of his game with strength isn't that realistic if you're not talking about him as an elite prospect. But just like the whole like leverage, the pad level, and like the ability to disengage and stuff like that, like that's what you have to do if you're going to be playing where he is on the line. So that's kind of where it's weird because he's 280. So I know, Grant, this is kind of a point you wanted to make. It's okay. Well, he can shoot the one gap, but like if you put him like on the edge, what's he going to be able to do?
Yeah,
because
no,
like, if he doesn't show that ability to fight through the trenches, and like if you put him at a different spot.
Guys, real quick, I've got to drop out. I'll see you guys later.
okay, see you, Garret.
Okay.
So kind of going off what you're saying there, I'm totally there. Honestly, I think he is he's not a defensive tackle in the NFL. I don't think at all.
I mean, it's like if you want to one gap him, that's fine. But
maybe. I mean,
how often is he going to win? Like you can win, like he'll win some of the time, but how much are you really going to expect from that?
No, you see, that's what I'm saying. I don't know, but put him on the edge, and maybe he's going to get more chances one-on-one, and he can maybe use that either speed to do something. But But if he's getting caught, like if the tackle's fast, which they are fast in the NFL, I don't know. I don't know how well his game actually translates. I mean, there's a lot of highlight plays. Like you watch his tape, there's a lot of highlight plays, which is why.
He'll blow up the line every now and then, which is, that's good. You expect that, but the power just kind of.
Yeah, and when he's double teamed, forget about it. He's out. Mm-hmm. He's gone. There's no coming back from a double team with him. James, what are your thoughts?
I'm kind of with Garret. I first watched him and was like, wow, there's no way he's even close to Rankins. I watched more, and he grew on me a little bit, but I am not going to have a good grade on him. There's no way I would take him in the first round.
Yeah.
Strictly because I don't think that he's a pass rusher very well. I don't think that he's going to be able to generate pass rush at the next level. And you're looking at a guy that's going to be a interior run defender, and I don't know that that's something that I'm going to spend a top 50 pick on. If he's there in the middle of the second when the Colts pick again, I'd be okay with them taking him. Mm-hmm. But he's not going to be a pass rusher. Like he's not going to be the kind of guy that's getting 6 sacks even for an interior guy. I don't think.
Here's the thing. I don't know that I would play him on the interior in the NFL.
I think he's only a pass rusher. I'm trying to the only time it seemed like he was making run stops was when he already shot the gap and was in the backfield.
Yeah, that's why I was, when watching him, that's my number one thought is, where is he playing in the NFL at his size and his abilities? And I don't know. I don't think you want to play him inside. But I'm not trying to make a comp here. I'm just going to say his versatility and size are what you see at a Pernell McPhee. He's not Pernell McPhee. Let's get that straight. But the way he was used in college, his size, I could see that being something to be worth attempting in the NFL, and having him play strong side end or linebacker, and then on a passing down, you move him inside. I don't know. He's not a Preston Smith either, by any means. Mm-hmm. But I'm not. Yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time placing him in the NFL. I mean, I think he is a good depth player. I don't think he's a star player. I don't even know if he's I want to say he's a second-round player. We'll see with the combine, but
I think overall, he would fit around mid to late second round.
I'd say the late second, and if he fell to the early third, I'm honestly not going to be surprised. But again, combine for a lot of these unknowns, like when you look at some of the stuff, like he looks really fast. He does.
Mhm.
His burst looks really good. That's where the combine helps you answer some numbers.
Mhm.
Is he as fast at the combine as he is on tape, or is he faster on tape than he is on combine? Those are questions that have to be answered, after the combine. So I think with him, for me, some of those questions will be answered. Will he have a good 40 time? More importantly, does he have a good 10-yard split and a 3-cone? For me, and I think definitely for Grigson, he's the last 3 or 4 guys that he's brought in have had very good 3-cones, including here's a name we've never said, and I've probably never said out loud, only in a tweet. Ricky Lumpkin, the former Raider that we signed to a futures contract, had a pretty decent 3-cone. And no one, you guys probably don't even know who that is, but we signed him to a future contract a few weeks ago. I looked up his information on one of the reference websites and had his pro day numbers, and it was a pretty good 3-cone. Everything else was pretty abysmal. But Billy Wynn and O'Kine and Anderson, really great 3-cone. Really good 3-cones. So
T.Y. McGill killed the 3-cone.
Yeah, McGill. That's who I meant over O'Kine. Sorry, McGill had a great 3-cone. So we'll see. A lot of guys get separated that way, so we'll have to see. But if the Colts wanted to, if they did another thing like they did last year, where they trade down to the late, or they traded to the first pick of the 3rd round, right?
Mhm.
With Dijon.
Yeah.
So maybe
something like that.
Something like that would be cool, in my opinion. But not probably the mid-second round. I think there's probably going to be a little better talent at a lot of different positions there.
That wouldn't be one I'd hate. I think I'm probably going to have a late 2 or early 3 on him. I've only watched 2 of the games. And I usually try to stick with 3 before I say something. I think he's going to be. I think his best spot's going to be a undersized like 5 tech, but I'm not 100% that he's going to provide enough pass rush that I'd want to stick him in there for too long, and
right.
So I haven't even thought about him as a McPhee type. I wasn't even thinking about that, and I'm pretty bad. I'm very bad, admittedly, with trying to imagine position changes. But I don't know. The thing for me is I feel like he runs. He kind of looks like he has a big lower body that like waddles almost. He's pretty powerful when he gets his weight going, but he can get washed out by the line and stuff. And I don't think he'd provide enough pass rush that I'd want him on the field on 3rd down, at least early on.
No, I agree. So I think we're on the same page there. That's really interesting. I just pulled up the live cast of our podcast by accident because someone commented, it popped up on my phone, and you're probably listening live right now, and it said, "Put these on YouTube, fuckboy." So there's that, I suppose, so, or on iTunes. Oh, speaking of that, we are on iTunes now. Actually, this will be on iTunes tomorrow morning.
Our brand is improving so much.
Hey, look at that.
Oh my God.
That really nice T-shirt. Where'd you get
that?
that?
My T-shirt, man.
It's all right.
It's okay. We'll have one every week, I imagine. So we've got, we always get, we got T-shirts, whatever. If you're listening and you commented, you care enough to comment. You care enough to buy.
Commenting. God bless you. Thank you.
You care enough to buy a T-shirt, I think. So there's always that. I've got an extra large, 2 larges, and a couple mediums left, which is actually pretty good. Sold, gave some out to some people, and then sold about 6 or 7. So that's kind of cool, I suppose. The brand is expanding, but I'm trying to think. I guess that's pretty much it. We've had a pretty good podcast here tonight. We talked about 2 players. We actually talked about more than 2 players. I don't know if we'll be back next week, but we will think about it. I suppose we'll look at it. I'm getting ready to move, and
let us know what position. Do we want a position we want to look at?
Yeah, we'll do. We'll put it out to the vote again. I don't know. What haven't we talked about yet?
We did inside linebacker.
we haven't done. Yeah, let's put wide receivers off for a little bit. We haven't. Have we done
safety? We can look at safety.
We could look at safety, and we can look at safety, I suppose. We can put a vote up safety or centers. So we've talked about guards. We've talked about tackles.
No one wants to talk about centers, Grant.
I want to talk centers. Let's talk some centers.
Let's talk some centers because I think this is the year that we get another center.
Yeah.
So we'll put it up to vote,
It better be.
people will vote
Safety,
for it.
I'm thinking we'll do Thompson, and we'll look at Carl Joseph too, because Carl Joseph reminds me a lot of Mike Adams. So like I think you'd be like the perfect replacement for Mike Adams. Or maybe
He's the West Virginia guy, right?
yes.
Yeah. Or we could even look at late round draft Twitter darling Justin Simmons from Boston College.
Or top 12 overall player Jaron Curse, according to idiots.
Yeah, who would
Ruins his reputation.
Who would ruin their brand with that? Who would?
Ruined my brand with Jaron Curse because I was his biggest supporter as like a day 2 guy, and then everyone's like, "Oh, let's make Jaron Curse a top 15 pick," and then ruined my brand, and now Jaron Curse unfollowed me on Twitter.
Ah, see, you lost them. See, the brand's ruined. You just got to kind of give up at that point. So yeah, again, we're on iTunes. I'll tweet the link to subscribe again, and I'll put that link in the link for the podcast. So there's lots of links going on in the podcast link. You can also download it straight. If you don't want to go through iTunes, you can download it straight from Draft Indy's website. There'll now be, on each podcast video, there'll now be a little link, a little player bar underneath the YouTube video, and it should say play, and there should be something underneath it that says download. So you can do that too if you don't want to go through iTunes.
Or you can watch our faces.
Which sometimes it's pretty great. I'll be honest, it's pretty great. So on that note, I will see you guys next time. Again, maybe not next week, but maybe next time. Mm-hmm. And everyone else, have a good weekend, and enjoy your Friday tomorrow.
Have a good night.